want to get your take on this game. Tyrone Tracy, 21 carries today for $112.
21 carries?
I saw him 1 week earlier. Who were they playing last week? I can't remember.
They played Wisconsin, and he ran pretty well against Wisconsin.
That's right. I made the comment.
112 yards as a back today. Had 1 catch for 4 yards, but 21 carries for 112 yards. He's become their workhorse ahead of Devin Mockabee right now.
Well, do you think that he might be motivated for next Saturday? I suspect he will. I hope we're motivated to stop him because he's going to be motivated to show what he can do.
Yeah, before that game, he had 25 carries for 176 yards, so that'll take him over 300 yards rushing for the season.
That's 7 yards a carry. My gosh.
It's precisely 7 yards a carry.
He averaged 5.3 yards a carry today, Don, and he had a long of 14. So
Incidentally, our longest run today was 9 yards.
Yeah.
So tell me the keys for Iowa against Purdue. What do you know about Ryan Walters and how they're going to look different, how they look different than the era under Coach Braun that we've been accustomed to seeing?
You know, I don't know that much about him. I did watch the Friday night game against Wisconsin, and I was very impressed with their quarterback. I could see where they're excited about him. Honestly, I thought their offense reminded me a lot of Jeff Brom's offense. I don't even know if there are any holdovers at all on offense, but they still threw the ball around. They had a good offense, moved the ball pretty effectively. They didn't win the game, but they turned it over. I think they had some unfortunate breaks, maybe penalties at the wrong time. But I remember thinking, I like Hudson Card. He's a good quarterback. And Tyrone's found a home as a running back, I guess. And I'm sure they won't hesitate to throwing the ball out of the backfield too, because he's at least got decent hands. Maybe not great hands, of course, but not that hard to catch a swing pass coming out of the backfield or a wheel route, something like that. So, honestly, if I was a Purdue fan, I'd be a little bit concerned. And wait a minute, our new head coach is a defensive guru, so why are we struggling so much on defense? It appears they're a little more vulnerable on defense, and maybe it's simply a function of the players they have coming back, of course, on that side of the ball.
Yeah, that's fair because we saw the same thing with Coach Brom. He's an offensive guy. Remember their first couple of years, their defense was really good. They couldn't score points, and later in his tenure.
Same thing with Coach Venables at Oklahoma last year. The defense there was terrible, and all of a sudden they're a lot better year 2. So,
yeah.
Incidentally, I couldn't help but notice Louisville right now is 5-0.
Yeah.
Well, Purdue's only losses are Fresno State, who's 5-0, Syracuse, whose only losses to Clemson, and Wisconsin, whose only losses at Wazoo. So, they have 3 losses, but they're not necessarily horrible losses.
Purdue right now, Don. Purdue is, I think, the dark horse. I had kind of labeled the dark horse being Illinois preseason because Illinois had the favorable schedule. But Minnesota's not been impressive. Illinois has not been impressive. Nebraska's not impressive. Northwestern's not impressive. Iowa and Wisconsin, to me, are still the front runners given the schedule, given personnel. Purdue is that third team. Purdue probably doesn't have a chance to win the division, but this is the type of game where they could ruin one of these top 2 contenders' chances. If they go to Iowa City and win next week, this game is in Iowa City, yes. Yes, it's in Iowa City.
Yeah, it is. Well, they still play Ohio State at home and at Michigan as well.
Yeah, they got a tough schedule. They're not winning the West. But they get people's chances.
Do our listeners need to be reminded of who represented the West last year?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think they were the best team last year. But again, given the schedule, they had a more favorable schedule than Illinois, and Illinois lost on a late drive from Michigan. But you're right. I mean, Purdue does have. It's not like they lost everybody off that team from last year. So,
right.
And like you said, Tyrone Tracy is going to have motivation coming into Iowa City next week.
I just didn't think they would be able to beat Illinois that convincingly. Yeah. I haven't seen the stats, So maybe sometimes, of course, the score doesn't reflect the way the game really was played. But pretty impressive that they could win that convincingly.
Yeah, the stats were not that convincing, Don. Just so you're aware, the stats were not convincing at all. About the same as far as total yardage, right around 400 apiece. A little over 200 passing yards for each team. Between 150 and 190 rushing yards for each team.
Was it a disparity on turnovers then, or
disparity on penalties? Turnovers they were even, and it was kind of like Iowa. I'll tell you, Michigan State gifted Iowa quite a bit tonight with penalties. That's something we didn't talk about. A lot of penalties for Sparty tonight, and who knows what happens with this game if they don't commit so many penalties. The final numbers.
I'll tell you where the real disparity was, Corey, is third down efficiency. Illinois was 2 of 14, Purdue 8 of 13, over 50% on third down.
Yeah, and Iowa's going to struggle to win that category. They were 2 of 13 on third down tonight. Michigan State wasn't good either, but Iowa's going to struggle to win that category. Iowa was +2 in turnovers and +7 in penalties. So, if they can play a clean game next week against Purdue. But Purdue played clean today, so that'll be a factor. You have to figure out a way to stop the run. I don't know. I haven't watched. I don't know where those carries came, what in what fashion those carries for Tyrone and Tracy came, Don. But I'm surprised at how good he runs between the tackles. But he did run in high school. He's a running back coming out of high school, and he's got some shiftiness. We saw it at Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the best wide receivers we had were high school running backs. Tim DeWhite was a high school running back. Robert Smith was a high school running back. Damon Gibson, a high school running back. We converted them all into wide receivers because they were too small to be college running backs. But they certainly make good receivers.
A Peacock game. I'm sure that's going to make a lot of Iowa fans happy. Peacock. Do you have Peacock yet, Don?
I don't even know I don't even know how to find that on my television.
Are you going to do it?
I'm going to be at the game, so I don't know if there's any way I can tape it. I'm not sure.
You got to get Peacock.
How do you do that? Is it going to require me to give up some money?
I think it's $10 a month, but you can cancel it right after the first.
I see. Well, maybe I can afford that then.
We'll get it. We'll send you one of the super chats, Don, and we'll get that. We'll call it a Peacock super chat. But anyways, yeah. So we'll look forward to Iowa Purdue next week, 2:30 p.m. kick on Peacock, and of course you and I will be live for Iowa postgame with Coach John Patterson. It'll be an earlier game, so we won't get done with the postgame show so late.